Well, in regards to Mexican Americans, it's not necessarily the first. I mean, we've historically seen examples of Mexicans forced to carry identification. We can go back as far as the gold rush, when the foreign miners tax was implemented, and Mexicans who were native to California were forced to carry cars that they were native to California. Of course, you can go to the Fugitive Slave Act, where African Americans in the North had to carry that they were free to identify themselves as free black men. So this is not necessarily new, but towards Mexican Americans, this is just one of a series of events and laws that is targeted specifically Mexican immigrants and laborers. In the 20th century, we have the repatriation in the 1930s of Mexicans, about 1 million, with over half of those million were Mexican Americans, were citizens of the United States who were repatriated back to Mexico. In the 1950s with Operation Wetback, which was an intense enforcement of immigration law, and they airlifted and bussed immigrants out of the United States. It didn't last very long because it was too costly, and many farmers complained that they were losing their labor force. So this is just one in a series of laws and policies that have targeted Mexicans and Mexican Americans. I'm not sure if they're any different, because this is, again, it's targeting, even though this law on paper, it does not identify or target specifically Mexicans, but neither did the repatriation of the 1930s or even the Operation Wetback. But we look in the titles of those particular policies, we know who they're targeting. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily different, but it's just that it's the more recent. And what's kind of ironic is that it's that Governor Brewer mentioned that it was the Safe Neighborhoods Act or something along those lines. And yet immigrants, and there's been data to support this from political scientists and other researchers, immigrants are probably the most law-abiding residents in this country, more so than citizens are. So it's kind of ironic in that way, but much of the policies that have targeted immigration in the United States have always been contradictory. It's always been a very schizophrenic, I call schizophrenic relationship that Americans have had with immigrants, dating back from the Eastern and Southern Europeans, Asians, of course Africans, and of course now with Latinos, specifically Mexicans and Mexican Americans.